Hello everyone, welcome back to Hari's Academy. So today we are going to learn about Virtual Private Cloud, which is VPC. We have seen this while creating an EC2, but we haven't created any VPC of our own and subnet of our own. We have been discussing this, like we'll have it in next section. So this is what the very important topic of AWS, which is on networking, and first topic which we are going to learn is VPC, which is Virtual Private Cloud. So before learning about virtual private cloud, we need to know a few things about how network works. Okay, so let me tell you one thing, one second. Okay, so my when I say VPC is will have a CIDR range. CIDR is nothing but classless inter-domain routing, and this will be having a set. This is nothing but a set of IP addresses which my organization will be using to access anything, right? So this will be an IP address range. It will look like this. Suppose this is my IP address range. It looks like this. I can give /24. So when I say this is not just one IP address, but it is an IP addresses, or it will have almost 256 IP addresses. We will see how we arrived at this particular number. There is a formula here to understand how we arrived to that particular number. So this is the formula which is used to calculate number of IP addresses in a CIDR range. So if I want to create an IP addresses range of IP addresses till 255 or 251, then I can use this particular CIDR range. So how we calculate it, we'll see this now. Okay, so when I say this one, so my formula will be 2 power 32 minus 24. This will be coming around 2 power 8, which is again 256 IP addresses, right? So this is the IP address range, and this is how we calculate the number of IP addresses based on which we assign a set of IP addresses to a virtual private cloud. Okay, so what it does is it virtually isolates the network. For that purpose, we create this CIDR range. Now, so these are the IP addresses. In this IP addresses, we will not get all the 256 IP addresses. In this, we will not have the IP addresses starting with. So when I say 10.0.0.0/24, it will be starting from IP address 10.0.0.0, then 10.0.0.1. second IP address, third IP address will be 10.0.0.2, right? And then we will have one more IP address which is 10.0.0.3, so and so forth. It will reach 10.0.0.255 till it reaches 255. These are the IP address range which we are going to have for this particular CIDR range. So in this, the first IP address, second IP address, third IP address, fourth IP address, and the last IP address, these are not with us. We cannot use these IP addresses. These are only with AWS for some or the other purpose. We will see that in detail here. So here you can see the first IP address is used for network address, second is used or reserved by AWS for VPC router, third is reserved by AWS for some other purpose, fourth again is reserved by AWS for future use, and the last one for network broadcast address. So these are the 5 IP addresses which we will not have. So on the whole, we will have only 251 IP addresses when I give a range as 10.0.0.0/24, right? So this is one very important exam question. It will they will ask you, they will give you a CIDR range, and they will say like whether I will get these many IP addresses or not. So you will have to ensure this 5 or minus subtracted from the number which we get. So even if we are saying 256 here, we will not have 256 because 5 IP addresses I have to remove, and I will only get 251 IP addresses. So this is very important topic. Now, after creating a VPC, suppose I want to create a VPC. What I will do is I will see it how it looks like. I want to create a VPC by my own, okay, and then I want to assign some CIDR range for this particular VPC, which is 10.0. I need to have more number of addresses, IP addresses, so I will give 10.0.0.0/16, which will be 2 power 32 minus 16, which is 2 power 16. I will have 65,536 IP addresses. Again, this will not have 5, so 65,531 IP addresses I will have. So this is a huge number which is sufficient for any organization. So this is the IP address I'll give, range I'll give for my VPC. Next, in the VPC, I can have, like in my organization, I can have different departments like HR department or IT department, right, or finance department. I don't want everyone to keep on loading for putting pressure on one particular IP address. So that is the reason what I can do. I can assign some set of IP addresses to HR department. I can assign some other set of IP addresses for IT department and also for finance department. So to further isolate this complete IP addresses which we have, I can go for subnets. Okay. So what I can do, I can create some subnets, but those should be like isolated. I mean, it should be in the same network, in the same VPC IP address range, which is 10.0.0.0/16, but I can have a separate CIDR range for that. So I can create a separate CIDR range for subnets. Okay, subnets. So subnet 1, subnet 2, subnet 3, I can have multiple subnets and I can assign IP addresses. Only requirement is that we should not have these IP addresses overlapping. IP addresses should not be overlapping, non-overlapping. Okay, this is the only requirement I have. It should have non-overlapping IP addresses. So what I'll do, I'll create a subnet 1, I'll create a subnet 1 with IP addresses 10.0.0.0/24, which is nothing but it will start with 0.0.0 till 255. So this last digit will be completely done. Once this is done, this is the maximum number of IP addresses I can give for one particular after one particular dot. So after this is done, I cannot use the same IP address range, or I cannot have one more subnet with the 10.0.0.1 or something like that here, because I have used up this entire 0 till 255 IP addresses. So I'll have to start with one more IP address which is starting with 10.0.1.0 for my subnet 2 and 2.0, 3.0, because again, like, it will start with 1.0, again it will go till 255. That way I can have multiple IP addresses range. So let me erase it for a while. Okay, and this will have 10.0.0.0/24, which will be having total 256 IP addresses, and of which only 251 will be usable. Right now I can create one more subnet. Okay, subnet 2, but this time I'll give my IP address range or CIDR range as 10.0.1.0, because I should not have any overlapping IP addresses. And if I give something like 10.0.0.1, then it will be like overlapping, because this IP address starts from 0 and then from 1 till 255 it will have all the IP addresses. So I cannot use this. I can use this because my IP address will now start with 1.0 and then it will go till 255. 1.1.1. till 255. This way I will not have any IP addresses overlapping. So likewise I can create multiple subnets. By default, AWS has given all those CIDR ranges based on the regions and number of availability zones. So if you see North Virginia, in AWS has given 6 subnets. Okay, 6 subnets, because 6 AZs are there. Each AZ is having a subnet. Right, that way they have segregated it, and default everywhere we have a default VPC for each and every region. This is region specific again, right? So this is also very important topic. Now once we have created the CIDR range, how it looks like now, in the diagrammatic format, how it looks like is this. Now I'll show you how it looks like in the diagrammatic format. Okay, so this is my VPC. Okay, think that this is my VPC and this is my subnet 1. And then we have one more subnet 2. Suppose we have only 2 subnets now. So this is our VPC and this is subnet 1 and this is subnet 2. Our VPC is having a CIDR range of 10.0.0.0/16, which is almost 65,536 IP addresses, and then our subnet 1 will be having 10.0.0.0/24, and then subnet 2 will have 10.0.1.0/24, which is again 255 or 251, which is the actual one, right? 251 IP addresses. So this way what I can do, I can isolate different departments using these subnets. Okay, and this way I can achieve highest performance and highest latency. Okay, less latency. Now there can be a public as well as private subnet. So you would have heard of what is public and private subnet. Let us understand in a layman terms what is public. Public, when I say, it should have access to internet. It should be able to easily access to internet. Okay, so when I say private subnet, it doesn't have access to internet. That is why it is called as private. Doesn't have access to internet. Okay, so why this is important, like why we need to have a private subnet or why we need to have only public subnets, right? So our VPC can have a combination of public as well as private. So we can say like this is my public subnet and this is my private subnet, but we haven't mentioned any option which says this is a public subnet or this is a private subnet, right? We will see in more detail like how we can identify whether this is a public subnet or a private subnet. Okay, the only identifier we have is it should have access to internet if it is a public, and it should not have a access to internet if it is a private. So the use case for having private subnet is like we can have our databases, we can have our data residing in this particular private subnet, so that we will not, this will not be open to entire world, and that is how we can ensure like our data is secured here, right? So we will see with an example how to create a public subnet and private subnet, how to give internet access to it, and how to avoid giving internet access to it, right? All those details in the subsequent sections. Now I will show you in the VPC console, management console in the VPC, how to create a VPC. As I told you in the beginning of the lecture, that we can use this launch wizard. When I click on launch wizard, very easy way is to create using a launch wizard. I can see I can have different options here. VPC with a single public subnet, which will have only one public subnet, and VPC with public and private subnets. So it will have different options. Next I can say with public and private subnet and hardware VPN access. This is one more different option where we have VPN connectivity to your corporate data center, which is your on-premise data center, and then VPC with a private subnet only and hardware VPN access. So these options we can have. I'll go with this option, which is having public as well as private subnet. We'll see this default wizard way of doing it. Okay, so I will click on this. I will click on this select option. Okay, one sec. Yeah, so I'll click on this select, and then I'll proceed further with my operation. So let me click on select. Now if you see, the default options are already being set up. So this is the default IP address which is given. This is for my VPC. This is the CIDR range, which is /16, and as I told you, though it has 65,536, it shows only available as 65531, excluding those 5 IP addresses, as we have seen in the details right earlier. Now I can give a VPC name, VPC with wizard. Okay, and then there is a public subnet which is having a CIDR range automatically given, like 10.0.0.0/24, which will have 256, but only available are 251. Along with that, I can select the availability zone as well, right? I can select availability zone as AP South 1A, and I can name it as public subnet, and also I can give one more private subnet which can be in the same availability zone or a different availability zone. It is up to you, and I can give the name as private subnet. Now here I have to give an elastic IP address here. Why? Because we haven't discussed this, but if my private subnet, okay, if my private subnet or private EC2s which are created in private subnet wants to access internet, as I told you, they cannot access internet directly. So what they have to do, they have to go through a medium called as network address translator, which is NAT gateway. And what NAT gateway does is it sends the request to internet, okay, in and on behalf of our private subnet. It will go and connect to internet gateway, okay, internet gateway, and this in turn will connect to internet. Okay, So NAT gateway helps us in connecting to internet, and it will be like sending the information will be sent to internet from other on behalf of our private. So the outside world will not come to know who has sent the request, and this way we can keep our data very much secured, right? So that purpose we need to have a NAT gateway. So for creating a NAT gateway, we need to have a dedicated elastic IP address. So either you can create and then come back, because that is how, and also NAT gateway will have a charges some apply. So you'll have to, I mean, if you want to do this demo, there are some very minimal, you can check the rates panel here, pricing list here, and then you can proceed with the demo if you want to go for. Okay, so this is how it works. Hourly price of 0.015 per ENI. So this way you can see what is the NAT gateway prices based on the regions. If I am going for Mumbai region, which is Asia Pacific Mumbai, I will have 0.056 per GB of data processed. Okay, so this is per hour also 0.056. So if you want to do this demo, you can go for it if you are okay with this charges. Now I will have to create an elastic IP address. So before going into that, I will go to my console again and try to create my elastic IP address. I cannot create an elastic IP address here itself because it only shows whatever is allocated. So I'll quickly create an elastic IP address. So I'll go to EC2. I'll go to EC2 quickly and then create a elastic IP address. Okay, so I can go to elastic IPs and then create an elastic IP address. Just create an elastic IP address, allocate IP address from the pool of IP addresses, and then click on allocate. So this is done. Once this is done, I'll have to refresh it back because I cannot I don't have a refresh option here. So I'll go to back again, and again I'll choose the second option, click on select, then try to give the VPC name as VPC with wizard. Okay, and I'll keep the same thing. I'll have availability zone as South 1A for public subnet, and for private subnet I'll have it as South 1B, AP South 1B, and then here if I click on it, I have an elastic IP address which I can allocate it to NAT gateway, and then remaining default settings I can keep it as it is, and then click on create VPC. So it takes some time and creates all different options. You can see here there are many options created. It was creating subnets, it was creating internet gateway, route tables, and at the end it was creating NAT gateway, which will take some time because NAT gateway, it is a big setup. It will do this setup, and then once it is done, we can see the entire VPC whole flow is being created by our VPC wizard. So this is so easy, right? Here we need not worry about what should be the next step after creating VPC. What should I do next? Create subnets. Next, what should I do? How do I give route tables? How to connect to internet? How to connect to NAT gateway? Which will be my private subnet? Which will be my public subnet? All those details you need not worry about. Everything will be taken care by the wizard. So this is so easy to do it. But while doing this, you will not understand more details about how VPC works. So that is the reason we will see the other way around as well along with this after this, right? So once it is completed, then we will go and see how whether everything is created properly or not. I'll pause the video for some time. Once this is done, we can again resume back. So now it is successfully created. Now I'll click on OK, and then we'll go to VPC dashboard. So this is the VPC which I have created. When I click on this, I can see default options have been set. The route table is also set. Let me copy this VPC ID and then see how many subnets have been created for this. So now I am in Mumbai region. Let us see how many subnets have been created by default. So I'll go and filter it out with my VPC ID and then see how many subnets are created, because we have selected two options there. One is for one public subnet and one is private subnet. I have these two subnets created. Let us go through the details like what exactly it has done, so that it will be easy for us to create it manually. Now I'll go to public subnet and I'll see the details here, right? You can see this is a VPC which was created, and this is the availability zone. This is the network ACL. Now we can see the route tables here, right? If I click on route table, you can see there are this is one IP address which I was talking about. This is the CIDR range of that particular subnet which we have given. So this will be local, because as I told you, if they are in the same subnets or same IP address range, they can talk internally. Like subnet 1 and subnet 2 can talk internally without any issues or hiccups, because they are in the same network. Now if you see, there is one more which is called IGW, which is called Internet Gateway. So we haven't seen this, right? What is Internet Gateway? We just saw what is in the theory, but we haven't seen what is Internet Gateway. Internet Gateway helps us to connect to internet. It is like an ISP or internet service provider, and these are the IP addresses. So any IP addresses it can access, right? That way we are giving access to complete public internet, and that is how it makes as a public subnet. So looking at this IGW, you can identify whether the subnet is in public or private. Okay, this is one important thing. Next, if I see the same options in private subnet, I have seen the same values 0.0.0.0/0, but here I see some other target, which is NAT gateway. As I told you earlier, like for private subnets, they cannot directly access internet. So what they do is, if they want to access internet because they wanted to do some updates on the databases or some other options, what they do, they connect to internet using a NAT instance or NAT gateway. Okay, so this NAT gateway helps us to connect to internet, and it sends the request to internet and get the request back. Outside world will never come to know which EC2 or which private instance is trying to access, or which instance is trying to access. It will only be like NAT is talking to them. Okay, that way it will mask, and then it will try to get the details from here. Okay, so this is NAT gateway. Now after creating this, what else I have seen? I have seen route tables, right? As I told you earlier, whenever we create a VPC, the default route table will be created, right? Which is our main table, right? Main route table. This is main route table. And if I click on main route table and see what are the details it has, what are the subnet associations. So this is very important thing here. You can go to routes, and then here you can see this is for NAT gateway. That means your route is taking to NAT. So this will act as your private route table. Okay, we haven't given the name yet, but this is private route table for VPC wizard. Okay, so that way you can see, like, it will not have access to it will have access to internet only through NAT gateway. Okay, now next one. Now if I go to this one, which is another route table which is created for public subnet, you can see the gateway address here. IGW is given, which is internet gateway, right? Again, subnet associations, you can see this is a subnet ID which belongs to your one second. So this is nothing but your public subnet. So you can see this public subnet. Okay, so that is because it is having internet access, that is why it is called as public subnet. So this route table will tell us like which one is public and which one is private subnet, and whether they have access to internet or not. Okay, public route table, VPC wizard. This way I can give name. So this is one more thing. And then we were talking about internet gateway, but we haven't set any new, right? So here if you see, this is the VPC, and this is the new VPC which we have created, and you can see this is the internet gateway. When I click on this, I can see whenever I click whenever I create an internet gateway, I have to assign it with some VPC. So this is assigned to one VPC, and one VPC can have only one internet gateway. It cannot have multiple. Okay, so that is one more important thing you have to remember. And elastic IP address, we have created an elastic IP address, and we have seen that this is assigned or associated with our NAT instance, right? Let me show you this. It is associated with the NAT gateway. This is the NAT instance. So the elastic IP address which we have created is associated with our NAT instance, right? So these are the important things, and this is one more thing which I was trying to say, NAT gateway. So this is the NAT gateway which gets created, and this is also a chargeable service, right? So it has an elastic IP address added to it, and this is used to help us to connect to internet and then get the details for our private subnets. Okay, so these are the things which we have created using a VPC wizard. So now we will try to see how it works if I want to create any VPC by my own. But before that, I wanted to delete this. So what I can do, I can click on actions, and delete VPC, whether I'll be able to delete it or not. So it says unable to delete because I have this NAT gateway which is having some ENI, right? So I'll have to remove that first. So let me do one thing. I'll go to NAT gateway and then I'll try to delete it. First I'll delete the NAT gateway. So this is like undoing things. If you don't want to incur any extra charges, you have to undo it. So I'll click on delete this NAT gateway, and also once that is deleted, then I'll have to release this elastic IP address also. Otherwise I'll be charged for that again, because we have already discussed earlier, like if you are using elastic IP addresses and if you are not associating it with any other EC2 instance, or if you are shutting down the EC2 instance, then still you will be charged or billed for that particular thing, right? So once NAT gateway gets deleted, I will be able to delete this particular elastic IP address as well. So once that is deleted, then we can completely delete VPC, and which will delete all the subnets and whatever associated route tables and internet gateway it has. Everything will be taken care with one delete. So we will pause for a while and then we'll see once it is deleted. So after some time, now you can see that this got deleted, right? So once this is deleted, what I can do, I can go and delete my or disassociate my elastic IP address here. So I'll go to elastic IP address, I'll refresh it once. So you can see now it is not assigned to anything. Now I can click on actions and then release the elastic IP address. Now I should be able to do it easily, right? Now once this is done, now I'll go to VPCs again using VPC dashboard. I'll go to my VPC and then try to delete this particular VPC which we have created with wizard. Okay, I'll click on delete VPC, and then you can see now all this whatever is created along with it, like subnet, security groups, NACL, internet gateway, egress only, route table, everything will get deleted. So that easy it is. If you delete it, you need not worry about all the other things. You can just delete and it will take care of all the subnets as well. So I can go to subnets and see if I have those subnets also created here. So you can see this VPC doesn't have any subnets. So that is clearly deleted now, right? So this is how we can easily create and delete a VPC using this wizard, right? So that's all for today. Maybe in the next section we will see how to create a VPC and all the subnets, route tables, internet gateway, everything step by step in a manual process. Till then, happy learning. Thank you so much for watching.